All right, ready to dive into some serious current affairs. Today, we're looking at India's push to become a global maritime powerhouse.
Yeah, this is big, really big for anyone aiming for those top spots in the UPSC exams, mains, prelims.
We're talking about a complete system overhaul, not just a few new ships here and there. And we're going straight to the source for this, PIB and Outlook.
Those are some solid sources for sure.
Okay, so I was really struck by, well, just how much is happening all at once? What really stood out to you?
I think it's the strategic thinking behind it all, It's
Yeah.
not just about catching up, it's about positioning India for leadership on the global
So
stage.
like world leader, right?
Yeah, and a great example of that, this one nation, one port initiative.
I was just getting to that. Imagine the whole Indian coastline operating like one super efficient machine.
It's about attracting global trade and investment, showing the world that India is open for business.
And that smoother trade, well, it makes India a way more attractive investment destination.
Right, especially for anyone aiming for the Indian Economic Service, this is key stuff.
The source material even mentioned a massive reduction in paperwork. Like, container operation documents are down by a third.
Less red tape, faster turnaround times, lower costs. Everyone wins.
Businesses, the economy, it's a win-win. So it's like we're upgrading the entire maritime sector to high-speed internet.
I like that analogy.
But streamlining is just one piece of the puzzle. There's also this new index, the Sagar Ankalan Logistics Port Performance Index,
LPPI for short.
LPPI. What's the big deal with that?
It's like a global report card for Indian ports. It tracks everything. Cargo handling times, berth utilization, basically pushing them to become more efficient, more transparent.
So it's like a fitness tracker for ports.
Exactly.
Huh.
Constantly measuring performance, encouraging them to get in shape, compete on a global level.
And it holds them accountable, too. No more hiding inefficiencies, right?
Right. And for UPSC aspirants, understanding how indices like this drive policy and impact the economy, well, it's crucial.
All right, next level stuff. The Bharat Global Ports Consortium. What's that all about?
This is about creating a powerhouse. One entity that can handle everything from infrastructure development to financing and operations.
So, like a well-coordinated orchestra, every section playing its part perfectly.
I like how you're thinking. And it directly supports initiatives like Make in India.
Better ports, easier exports, and that makes Indian products more competitive globally.
It's all about creating a seamless ecosystem from production to export.
Now, we can't talk efficiency without talking tech.
Hmm.
The source material mentioned this digital platform called MITRI.
Yeah, MAITRI is all about using AI and blockchain to completely transform trade and regulatory processes, like creating a digital highway for trade, cutting through all those bureaucratic bottlenecks.
So instead of piles of paperwork, everything's streamlined and digital.
Exactly. Faster, more transparent. And this is connected to another exciting development, the virtual trade corridor with the UAE.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting for our UPSC folks, using tech for seamless exchange of trade documents.
Cuts down processing times, reduces costs.
And imagine the potential if this expands to other regions, like BIMSTEC or Asian nations. It's a total game changer for India's economic and geopolitical influence.
This is just the beginning, really. India's digital ambitions in the maritime sector are huge, and understanding these trends is crucial.
So it's like India is building a digital bridge to the world, paved with data, powered by AI.
I like that.
But it's not all about speed and efficiency. I was also really struck by India's focus on sustainability in all of this. What stood out to you?
The National Center of Excellence in Green Port and Shipping, NCOE GPS. It's a really big step, showing that India is serious about responsible, sustainable growth in the maritime sector.
I was particularly impressed with the focus on eco-friendly port operations and green technologies.
This aligns with global trends, It positions India as a leader in sustainable maritime practices.
So it's not just ethical, it's smart economics too. Global awareness of environmental issues is rising, and countries are looking for partners who share those values.
Exactly. This could give India a real competitive edge, attract environmentally conscious investors.
Now, before we move on, let's talk about another exciting aspect of India's maritime modernization, the revival of its shipbuilding industry.
Yeah, the government put its money where its mouth is with this one, announcing a 25,000 crore maritime development fund.
That is massive. So what's the big picture here? Just building more ships, or is there a deeper strategy?
The goal is ambitious, making India one of the top 10 shipbuilding nations by 2030.
Wow. And what does that mean for economic growth, job creation? What are the implications for national security?
Well, imagine a thriving shipbuilding ecosystem in India. Jobs, boosting ancillary industries, contributing significantly to GDP growth.
Yeah.
That's the economic upside.
Makes sense. And strategically.
A strong shipbuilding industry means less reliance on foreign suppliers, especially for critical defense needs.
So building warships, submarines, domestically, it strengthens India's position, right?
Absolutely. It's about national security and self-reliance.
So it's not just about the ships themselves, it's about building capabilities, expertise, and a more self-reliant maritime sector overall.
And that ties into the larger theme of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India.
It's all coming together. And all of this is leading up to a big event, India Maritime Week 2025.
It's going to be huge, a showcase of India's maritime ambitions, heritage, and future plans. Over 100 countries participating, 100,000 delegates.
That's a massive platform. It's a chance to attract global attention, forge new partnerships. For our UPSC listeners, keeping an eye on the outcomes of India Maritime Week 2025 is a must. Okay, before we go too far, let's take a step back and make sure we're all on the same page.
Sounds good.
We covered a lot, and it's important to understand that these developments aren't isolated. They're all interconnected. They all point towards India's larger goal of becoming a major maritime force. We started with one nation, one port, streamlining operations to attract trade and boost efficiency. Then we talked about the LPPI, benchmarking performance, and pushing for those global standards.
Right, and we can't forget the Bharat Global Ports Consortium, integrating various aspects of port operations under one powerful umbrella. And of course, MAITRI, leveraging tech to revolutionize trade and build those digital bridges to the world.
And then there's India's commitment to sustainability, the revival of its shipbuilding industry.
And don't forget, India Maritime Week 2025, a potential goldmine of insights for UPSC preparation.
It's clear that India's maritime modernization is ambitious, multifaceted, and strategically vital. So what do you think? What potential challenges and opportunities do you see? Leave a comment below, and let's discuss.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on our deep dives into these crucial topics. All the information we discussed today is sourced from PIB and Outlook. Always a good idea to go back to the source.
We'll be back soon to explore the nitty-gritty of how all these initiatives are actually being implemented on the ground.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so we've laid out the grand vision, but now I want to get into the specifics.
Yep.
Our UPSC listeners need to understand not just the what, but the how.
Absolutely.
Let's start with one nation, one port.
Yeah.
We talked about less paperwork, which is huge for businesses,
Right.
but it goes way beyond that. Imagine a shipping company moving cargo from, say, Kandla to Chennai.
Okay, yeah.
Under this framework, they'll experience the same efficient procedures at both ports.
No more dealing with different regulations or systems at each stop.
So it's like having a single operating system for all major ports.
Exactly.
That's a game changer for logistics and supply chains.
Streamlines everything, makes Indian ports more competitive globally.
And remember, the Sagar Ankalan LPPI, it's not just some theoretical ranking, it's driving real improvements.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust in Mumbai.
Right.
They've been optimizing berth allocation, implementing digital solutions.
And that's led to a higher LPPI score, a boost in their global ranking.
So the LPPI, it's like a motivator, pushing ports to perform better.
It is.
And it's a great example of how something like an index can have a real-world impact.
Absolutely. Something UPSC aspirants should pay attention to.
The interplay between policy, indices, and economic outcomes.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears to shipbuilding. We mentioned that massive maritime development fund.
Right.
How is that money actually being used on the ground?
Well, it's helping Indian shipyards modernize, expand, enabling them to build more sophisticated vessels.
So, like what kind of vessels?
LNG carriers, offshore support vessels, even cruise ships.
Wow, we're not just talking basic cargo ships anymore.
Nope.
This seems to link back to Make in India. Are we seeing a push towards high-tech shipbuilding as well?
Absolutely.
So India's moving up the value chain.
Yeah.
Building specialized vessels that require advanced technology and expertise.
Right.
And there's a strategic angle too, right?
Oh, for sure.
Building these vessels domestically reduces India's reliance on foreign suppliers, especially for defense. So it's about building ships, but also about building capabilities and self-reliance.
Crucial for national security.
And it ties into the larger theme of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Self-reliant India.
Now, while we're on the topic of self-reliance, what about the environmental aspect? We discussed India's commitment to green shipping.
Yes.
How is that actually being translated into action?
Well, a lot of Indian ports are adopting shore power facilities.
What does that mean?
It allows ships to switch off their engines and connect to the onshore power grid while they're docked.
Oh, see.
Significantly reduces emissions. India is also investing in alternative fuels like LNG and methanol.
Which have lower emissions compared to traditional bunker fuel.
Exactly.
So it's not just about building more ships, it's about building and operating them in a way that minimizes environmental impact.
It is.
That's a crucial aspect of sustainable development, a topic that often comes up in UPSC exams.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that economic growth can't come at the cost of the environment.
Right. And these initiatives demonstrate India's commitment to finding that balance.
Now, beyond the infrastructure and the tech, we need to talk about the people driving this transformation.
Yes,
The success of these initiatives depends on having a skilled workforce.
it does.
What's being done to make sure we have the talent to support this maritime boom?
The government's investing heavily in maritime education and training.
Okay.
You're setting up new maritime universities, upgrading existing institutions,
Wow.
and offering scholarships to attract talent. There's also a big focus on skill development programs for existing workers.
Areas like,
Shipbuilding, port operations, logistics.
so it's a two-pronged approach, attracting fresh talent and upskilling the existing workforce to
Exactly.
meet the demands of a modern maritime sector.
That's right.
And this focus on human capital, it's crucial for creating a sustainable and globally competitive industry in India.
It is.
We've covered a lot, from streamlining port operations to promoting sustainability and building a skilled workforce. But I'm curious about the bigger picture. We've talked about India becoming a global maritime powerhouse.
Uh-huh.
What are the implications of that for India's geopolitical standing?
That's a great question.
A stronger maritime India, will it have a greater say in global trade,
It will.
influence regional security, project its values and interests on the world stage?
Absolutely.
So it's about projecting power, both hard and soft.
It is.
It's about securing sea lanes, protecting trade routes, asserting India's presence in critical regions like the Indian Ocean,
Right.
and it's about building strategic partnerships, like the virtual trade corridor with the UAE, engaging in joint naval exercises with countries like Japan and Australia.
Exactly.
So it's a multifaceted approach, combining economic diplomacy, strategic partnerships, and a robust maritime sector. All this points to a more assertive and influential India on the global stage.
It does.
And it's a shift that UPSC aspirants should be keenly aware of. All right, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let's recap what we've covered so far.
Okay.
We started by looking at how the One Nation, One Port initiative is streamlining processes, making Indian ports more efficient. Then we explored how the Sagar Ankalan LPPI is driving improvements in port performance, encouraging healthy competition.
Right.
We also discussed the concrete steps being taken to revitalize India's shipbuilding industry, from financial assistance to skill development programs. And we saw how India's commitment to sustainability is translating into practical measures, like shore power facilities and the adoption of cleaner fuels. Finally, we touch upon the broader geopolitical implications of India's maritime ambitions, highlighting the country's growing influence in regional and global affairs.
It's a lot to take in.
Remember, all of this information is from the PIB and Outlook.
Great sources.
We encourage you to delve deeper into them for a more comprehensive understanding. Now, we want to hear from you.
What do you think?
How do you think these developments will impact the lives of ordinary Indians? What are the potential challenges and opportunities? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on our deep dives into these crucial topics for UPSC aspirants.
We'll be right back to explore the social and human dimensions of India's maritime journey. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered the strategy, the tech, the geopolitics, but now it's time to bring it all home. What does India's maritime transformation actually mean for people?
That's the real question, isn't it? I mean, all these plans, investments, it's got to be about improving people's lives, right?
Exactly. So let's talk about the people whose lives are, well, most directly touched by the sea. Coastal communities, fishing villages. How will they be impacted by all of this?
Well, one of the most immediate impacts is going to be on jobs.
Jobs, okay.
As the maritime sector expands, shipbuilding, ports, logistics, it's going to create huge demand for skilled workers.
So we're talking about a wave of new job opportunities, potentially even lifting entire communities.
Potentially, yeah.
That's got to be significant, especially for our UPSC folks, those looking at economic development and social upliftment.
Absolutely. And these aren't just, low-wage jobs. We're talking engineers, technicians, specialists, roles that offer higher incomes, better living standards.
That's the kind of progress we like to see. But I'm also thinking about the more traditional fishing communities. Will they be left behind in this modernization drive?
It's a valid concern, definitely, and one that the government is actually actively addressing.
Okay.
There are programs to modernize fishing vessels, provide training on sustainable fishing practices, improve access to markets. It's all about empowering them.
To be more productive and profitable.
Right, but also safeguarding the marine ecosystem at the same time.
So it's not about replacing traditional livelihoods. It's about equipping them to actually thrive in this changing landscape.
Exactly.
That's a really crucial nuance, especially when we talk about sustainable development, right?
It is. And on top of that, this improved maritime infrastructure also means better connectivity for these communities.
Like how so?
Well, think improved ferry services, coastal shipping routes, easier access to healthcare and education.
It's like building bridges, both literally and figuratively, connecting these coastal areas to the mainland and opening up all those opportunities.
And don't forget the potential for tourism. As India's coastline develops, we can expect to see a rise in cruise, tourism, coastal resorts, all those related industries.
Which means even more new avenues for employment and economic growth.
Exactly.
Tourism is a powerful engine for development, especially for coastal communities. But we have to make sure that development doesn't come at the cost of heritage. I remember reading about some initiatives to revitalize India's maritime history.
Like what?
Museums, restored shipyards, even underwater archaeology.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating stuff.
It's about preserving that cultural legacy, but also creating some really unique tourism experiences that can attract visitors from around the world.
It's a win-win. Cultural preservation, economic growth, job creation.
Absolutely. And beyond all those tangible benefits, there's also a deeper impact, right?
I think so.
Remember we talked about India, projecting its power and influence on the world stage. A stronger maritime sector, it contributes to that projection.
It does, no doubt.
When India is building these world-class ships and its ports are these bustling hubs of global trade, well, it instills a sense of pride.
National identity.
It's like reclaiming India's rightful place as a maritime power. And that sense of pride, it can inspire young people to actually join this sector, fueling even more growth.
It's a positive feedback loop. Investment leads to innovation, creates jobs, boosts national pride, ultimately a more prosperous and secure future for everyone.
Well said. It's been quite a journey exploring all of this, the depth and breadth of India's maritime transformation.
It has.
From the nuts and bolts of how ports actually operate to those big geopolitical implications, and then the human impact.
We covered a lot.
And for our UPSC aspirants listening, remember, this isn't just about memorizing facts. It's about understanding how everything is interconnected. The impact these developments have on all sorts of different sectors and what it means for India's future.
Absolutely.
India's maritime journey, it's a story that's still being written. And each of these initiatives, well, they're all a chapter in that story.
Yeah, I like that.
We encourage you to go deeper, explore the source material, the PIB and outlook, and really keep learning about this crucial part of India's growth story.
Couldn't agree more.
And we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all of this? What challenges and opportunities do you see? Leave us a comment below. Let's keep this conversation going.
And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more deep dives into topics that matter, especially for our UPSC warriors out there.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.